back in the saddle. All right, guys, welcome. It's Tuesday. How's it going? Glad to have you guys back on the show. A Flawed Man of God, and I am your host, Stuart Davis. I'm a deacon, small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of issues, topics, and current events, and how they relate to the faith, and give you my perspective, which is one that I consider to be that of your average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 40 years non-denominational Protestant. Don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination, just in the word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Sometimes I do it right, and sometimes I do it wrong. So if you are somebody who is interested in learning more about Christianity, if you are somebody who is maybe curious about learning more about the faith, if there is a voice in the back of your head wondering if there's more to this existence than just your life here on earth, welcome to the show. How's it going? The show idea started with you in mind, so hopefully you can get some sort of insight or perspective from me, something to kind of make you more comfortable with the idea of faith, and an introduction to what Christianity is all about, who Jesus is. This is a very lay approach. I am, like I said, I'm not a professional at this. This is an amateur stream. This is just a guy putting on a camera and trying to talk about his faith in the best way possible. But hopefully it ends up being a springboard into a relationship with God for you and for anybody else coming to this stream with similar mindset. I hopefully can dispel some preconceptions, some stereotypes, maybe that the Bible is a dry piece of scripture. It's a dry book full of laws and judgment. It's way more than that. There is so much to cover. There's a broad spectrum of just different niches that it fits into. There is history, there's genealogy, there is narrative, there are kings and kingdoms, there is warfare, there is betrayal, there is all sorts of that kind of stuff. But you'll also find is rules, you'll find redemption, love, hope, you'll find proverbs, you'll find songs, you'll find prophecy, you'll find prophecy fulfilled. You'll find the basis and the foundation of the church that we know today laid out there. And of course, we also talk about the Messiah, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Maybe you think that church is for stuck up hypocrites who are more concerned about looking down on other folks than they are about, worshiping anybody. Maybe you think it's a cult. Maybe you think this is all a bunch of just made up stuff. You'll find that in true church, the real fellowship, the way that, like I said, the Bible lays it down, you will find rich family belonging. You will find a place for worship. You will find a place for healing. You'll find a place where we're all trying to look out for each other in one way or another, and do it honestly and earnestly. So that's for you guys. For those of you who are already Christian but might just enjoy Christian topic and discussion, welcome as well. We've got a great group of folks that come in here regularly. We run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Bible or a Sunday school. It's very casual, very informal, very relaxed setting where we can just express things and give our thoughts and feedback on here. This isn't denomination specific. If you're a Catholic, if you're a Lutheran, if you're Anglican, if you're Calvinist, if you're whatever, you're welcome here. And I'd love to get your different perspective on here. So, with that being said, how's everybody doing this evening? It's a full moon out, guys. Woo! And I'm back. And I'm back after a bit of an absence. Actually, it's not that long. I did stream on Friday. I'll be streaming tomorrow night. And I will be streaming on probably Friday night, but Thursday night is my normal Deacon and Elders dinner, get together, discussion, fellowship period, which does get in the way of this. Starting next Monday, is softball season. We have our first practice Monday night next week, second practice the following Monday, and I think we get into the season proper after that. I'm excited. I love softball season. We've got new guys coming in. We've got some new folks coming in, and we've got some other folks who are either too busy, too injured, or not in the area anymore to do it, which is always a bummer. But we do what we can. How's everybody doing? MR is in the chat, and Alias, have not seen you live in a while. It is glad to see both of y'all here. Glad to see both of y'all here. Alias, if you've been catching it on the replay, thanks. Glad you've been keeping current, and glad that you're popping in live when you can. Because guys, y'all's input is great. Who we're missing tonight, I guess, is Nico. Either he is not here or he is quietly listening in class, but normally he lets us know. Or how about this? Then I don't know what this is with StreamYard's doing this recently. Don't know why StreamYards is doing this recently, but they're holding chats back and then dumping them all at the beginning of stream. Dresden's here. Porcupine's here. Alex Moore is here. Nernaeth is here. Emmanuel Osorio is here. So we got a wrecking crew of chat guys in here. It is great. Nernaeth said it's getting crowded in here, like double what it used to be. Did you guys see Chris Rock BTFO Will Smith? It was brutal. I've just heard about it. So, look, Chris Rock is a guy who's hasn't always been friendly to the wholesome style of life. Sometimes, like I said, he's hit or miss. I'm much more of a Chappelle guy, but I think Chris Rock earlier was kind of an early Dave Chappelle, but he just never did it as well, I don't think. But I think, a lot of comedians who go back to who trace their success back to the 90s, when pushing the envelope and being offensive was part of their, what made them who they are looking back, and they're like, we've got nothing left now. We pushed all these boundaries, and now only to create a place where boundaries aren't allowed to be crossed by the people we pushed the boundaries for. Almost, it's interesting how that is. It's almost like it's almost like the Soviet Union, right? we had this revolution, and then this guy Stalin came in and all of his people, and then they killed off a lot of the original revolutionaries because they became problematic. I miss honest comedy. Edgy comedy can be good if it's honest, right? And that's what I think about, like, why I am a Chappelle fan, why I'm a Bill Burr fan when it comes to their stand-up. Sometimes it's self-deprecating, sometimes it's talking, but it's even, right? It's evenly doled out, even though I don't always agree with what they say. It's coming from an honest place, and it's like, hey, if I see something that needs to be that has a punchline, I'm gonna go there. You can't do that as much anymore. So, I got I got a hard look. I told you guys on these Friday night conversations, sometimes I go click hunting, clickbaity. And so I did the Murdoch trial, just my thoughts on it. 113 views in a few days. Look, you guys are great. I love that you guys are local or loyal and in and out. I'm getting about 30 views a video, a live stream, which is much more than it used to be. Way more than it was at this time last year. That was before many of y'all came. When after the first, it was just me and Fig Newton. It went coming in to watch me and Eric Rollon do our streams. Uh, come onto my stream and we talk about the problems at the pulpit. Just listen to me read the very beginning of the Bible and talk about some other issues. Then the Nick stream, then Nick came on and it brought most of you. And then I put the super chat out there during the Rittenhouse interview on Nick's channel, and it brought many more of you guys. So it's just good. I'm just grifting off of that, just picking fruit off of that tree, because I know, as somebody who listens to Nick's live streams on the replay, just listening to the comments, I know that there is a strong percentage of his viewership that I think will enjoy what I've got. So anytime I can pull some of you guys off, not to pull them away from there, but pull it and say, hey, look, if you're awake at 8:30 and you're looking for something like this, you might enjoy it. You might enjoy it. It's a little bit, it's definitely cleaner. It's definitely more faith-based. And that is what I've created. And he was very much an inspiration to me. So the old viewership, at least, I don't think it's changed all that much. I don't know, but I don't know. Again, I don't keep up. I'm never in the chat. I'm never in the chat. So I don't know how that goes. But much of the show seems very similar. But I do. It's just different. Some of the drama side of it has changed. In the but a lot of the topics are still very much tackled. And now with the Rumble aspect of things, I like that he can dig a little bit more into it without having to work. Without having to worry about the censorship part. Look, there's nothing. I don't know. I take that back, because I know there's some the real degens in that chat. But the chat that me and Nick came from, that we were part of that group. We are very outspoken in our beliefs. So. But anyway, where I was going with this, so with the Murdoch channel, I don't get many comments. Get lots of chat, like a lot of chat activity, like what's going on right now. The comments, rarely get comments. So I saw one pop up on Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night. One popped up. I was over at my buddy's house, and their internet they're out in the boonies, so the internet is spotty. And so pull it up, and I'm like, it's this long written comment about Murdoch and how I got it wrong, and he mentioned Ricada Law stream in Rittenhouse, and this whole thing about how they didn't know anything and they were joking throughout the stream and all this, and they turned it off. It's like, okay, you didn't like it. And he said that they said because I don't know if the person was a dude or a gal, but they said that they weren't prepared going into this trial. And that was the part that really stuck with me, because I'm like, if you're trying to come by this trial honestly, why are you already prepared? You should be going into it fresh, unlearned, ignorant. Again, and I remember the lead up to it. I know Nick, and I think some of the other guys, they thought he was guilty going in. And I get it that they're looking at everything through a defense attorney lens. So they're going to be more geared to lean that way. But what they say about a sloppy prosecution is very true. Is sloppy prosecution, and I stand by the fact that Law and Crime did an interview with one of the jurors, and he said he looked at the whole thing, and I got to take him at his word. There's no reason to disbelieve him. He came to the conclusion that he was guilty. I don't see how he got there, but he did. But one of the things he said he looked at was he was looking at body language and everything. He was thinking about Murdoch's memory of what was going on. So a couple of things that were brought up were one of the things that was brought up is you need to get a memory guy up there, and they didn't bring one up there, and that, I think, was a key piece for him. I don't know, but again, the same thing. I need a real motive. I need a real motive. Tell me, do you think he was just in a drug induced, rage, and he got into an argument with one or both of his family members that he was nearby, and that's what brought out? Maybe he was seething on it. He saw but he was under opioids, and he was, all out of his mind, and decides, no, I'm going to get the last word, and goes out there with the gun and shoots him. Okay, is that likely? Tell me why it's likely. Is that something that happens when you are tripping on opioids? I don't know. I get the I have a family member who recently lost a struggle with their addiction in that realm. So there have been times where they were sick to their stomach, and other times where apparently they were all over the place. So, but that wasn't pills. That was heroin. So I'm not sure. I didn't see that. I didn't see anybody come up with these are the effects, or if he was under the influence. He had pills in his pocket, right? The assumption you can lead there is that maybe he was under the influence. What did he? Did they do a drug test on him while he was there? If he was supposed to be if people are generally on the scene a suspect. But again, I didn't see that. Give me the motivation. Give me the motivation behind it, and explain the two weapons. Explain the two weapons. And the person who was commenting said it's not beyond any doubt. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. Those are reasonable doubts. And I thought that when I was talking about this on Friday, I said there's a lot of maybes and a lot of maybes and a lot of maybes, and every time we get to a maybe, that chips away. I keep using branch off, but really what I mean to say is it chips away from that reasonable doubt, or it chips away towards reasonable doubt. He's guilty. Maybe I think he's guilty. I don't know. It's a sad situation, guys. I think I talked about it a while ago when it happened. I think that was before the Rittenhouse stream. Let me catch up on super or not super chats on the chats. You're all super, right? Porcupine's in. I said to everybody who's here, welcome you guys. Matt Felty arrived. It's not long after I did there. Chris Rock had a similar upbringing to me in the ghetto, so I get it. It's called YouTube growth, and you're just going to get bigger. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. I enjoy what I'm doing, and I think, and I like the impact that I'm having, at least at this level. And you guys, and like I said, you guys are part of that. The show is not just me, and that's what I wanted to see. That was y'all. Emmanuel, you weren't here when I was talking about it, but before the when Nick came on this show back in May, it was right at the end of right after the Johnny Depp trial. He was tired. It was right after the Johnny Depp trial. He came on. Me and my wife were talking about it, and she was like, "Hey, have you thought about maybe just doing a pre-recorded video, a longer one?" Because at the time, I wasn't. The streams weren't lasting this long generally, except for when it was me and Eric Rollon, or me and another guest like Hans Feeney or somebody like that who came on and did these things, did these, other topic, not the Bible chat, but maybe pick a topic and do a recording and do it once a week, or live stream once a week. And I said, let me get Nick on, because that's going to be my opportunity to tap into a large audience, a large YouTube audience, because he's the biggest YouTuber I had on. And we'll see where it goes from there. If I don't get a whole lot of stuff, if I don't get a lot of impact off of that, I'll do that. And if not, but if I do, I'm going to keep doing it this way. And I went from 30 subscribers to by the end of the week, over 400. And that's kind of the ticket in. You've just got to go out there and bring people on. Now, bring people on that I think are interesting, but not necessarily people that other people are interested in, or at least not names that are going to get people's interest. But again, out of that, I've got Nernaeth showed up, Nico showed up, MR showed up, Porcupine showed up, Alias showed up, a whole host of guys, the original chunk of chat members, because before that it was really just Fig Newton, and the original chunk of guys came in, and that's what started this rolling. And then during the Rittenhouse, the super chat, like Matt here, a couple of you guys came in, you, Emmanuel Sorio, I know I'm missing a couple of other folks in there. Sorry about that. But for the most part, right, you guys are. Blaine, I think, came over from the Nick stream, and it's great. So, like I said, right now I'm fine, I'm great, and it's like, hey, I get to talk to, a dozen people a night live, and I get about another dozen watch it on the back end. So that helps. MR, stay out of the chat. I don't want you to tell me I need a confession. Don't worry about it, MR. I'm not worried about that. Porcupine, I've switched to weekly watching and participating in your stream versus Nick's. I imagine, because the stream, that stream, I watch it, I'm like, how does anybody keep up with the conversation there? It's a crowd. And I'm not trained for that. So, Emmanuel, it helps a lot for a modern non-denomination Christian to learn, but bit by bit, of the Bible even more. I'm aiming to open a channel soon, because you guys inspire me. Well, thank you. MR said, let me at him. He deleted, by the way, MR, he deleted his chat, his comment, I think, because I couldn't find it tonight. I responded like, look, if you think I'm as right as Nick was on the Rittenhouse verdict, you're just telling me how right I am. So thanks. Appreciate the compliment. Manuel, yeah, addiction's a hell of a drug, really powerful tool used by the enemy. Yeah, it's a deep one. I haven't gone into this recently, but one side of my family struggles greatly with addiction. It's not all of us, but when it hits one of us, it generally hits us hard. Luckily, it's mostly video games to me. It's mostly video games to me, which is why next year's Lent probably is going to be by video games. 40 days, I'm just going to read and go to bed early. after streaming, of course, guys. Sorry for my loss. Thank you. Yes, I've got to check in on some of the immediate family members um, from there, but this was one where we thought they were over it, and then just one thing caused them to backslide just once, and that was all it took. I try to keep him out. I know that person probably would. I don't think that person would enjoy me discussing it too much, but I think it's important. And now that they're in a place where they're no longer in pain, um, and no longer struggling for it, maybe they are okay. So, but yeah, that was the worst out. That was a bad outcome. But like I said, when it hits our family, um, it definitely uh, it definitely hits us hard. And just in this case, he's not the first person to succumb to an addiction, but um, I think emotionally, obviously, it hurts all of us, but he didn't damage people the way that other people have in our family have damaged others with their addictions. So it's it is what it is. We just just makes us try to be a little bit more um cognizant of what's going on, and when just you hold people a little bit tighter. You've got to use these folks as an example. What happened here? You can see this is not a place where they wanted to be. This was a decision they made once or twice, a couple of times in the beginning, and it ended up spiraling out. And the next thing you know, lives are ruined. People's families are affected. It affects these other people growing up. I mean, addiction is never something um, that affects just one person when there's a family involved. It infects everybody. And that side of my family is at one point was very tight. And us in that generation we still love each other very much, and try to look out for each other when we can. But as we get older, lives start to just drift apart. And luckily, me and my brother, even though we live far away, we've been able to stay very close, and actually be closer than we were growing up, because I was a monster to my little brother, monster towards him. And I'm not proud of how I behaved as an older brother growing up. I just try to do it better now. MR said, I'll give you my motive, only my subjective. Failed murder suicide, killed them, couldn't shoot himself, was a lot stronger of a theory than financial crimes for state. Yeah, but that's a theory, right? But this is plausible, right? So this is why I say, I guess I can get where a jury can get here, because they go, okay, this thing makes sense. This is what I think happened. But just because that's what you think happened, does that mean that it definitely happened? Again, it all comes down to what percentage of you believe something happened beyond a reasonable doubt. For me, like I said, 95%. I got to be 95% sure. That other 5%, kind of that outlier. That 5% is where the unreasonable doubt resides. Alias, as a juror, you were to go in with a bias towards the defendant, not guilty. It is the state's job to prove otherwise beyond a reasonable doubt. Agreed. Hey, y'all, Texan Italian is here. I see what you're saying, Alias. Ideally, you're right, but in practice, a lot of people, especially over 45, have a state bias. I mean, he was just... I don't know. Like I said, guy was a jerk. Guy had a checkered past. I mean, he had a lot of things going. Again, is this how it should work? No, but the life you lead going into it can sometimes affect you, right? Your reputation has impact. So your character, who you are as a person, ultimately all that matters really is what the truth of your character is, and God's perception of it. But how it will impact your life is how people view your character. Are you a man who is dependable, who is honorable, who can be counted on, who tries to do the right thing, who tries to be respectful of other people? Be the be the cliche chivalrous person, right? Or the Southern gentleman, or whatever if you're up north, whatever the equivalent of the Southern gentleman is. I am, when you talk to me, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. My little brother, I put that sir and I put that ma'am there because I was raised that way to talk to adults, but also as an adult, I feel like it's a sign of respect to that other person. And while I don't always use it a lot, you'll hear me still say it a lot, and I want my kid to hear me use it so he understands, and my daughter understands. This respect is not just something you show as a child. This is something respect that you do as a person. Always when walking out, and it's little things, and then little things kind of give you that. To me, in my opinion, the little things usually give you momentum into bigger things and broader things. When I'm walking out the door of a place, I always look to see if somebody's coming out behind me. Do you put the the shopping cart in the thing? Do what's right. Do what's right when nobody's watching or whatever. Do what's right when you don't have to. Do what's right when it's not going to impress anybody. Do what's right because it's right to do, because that's what's in your heart. Sorry guys, a little bit of a runny nose tonight. So, that's how I've lived. That's how I've had to change things. Like when I was growing up, I had trouble with the truth, right? I had trouble being honest. I was an angry person. I can still be angry, but I was an angry kid, right? At some point I had to change all this. At some point I had to change all this. It makes more sense in step by step. Having a son helps keep me more accountable. Having a wife helps keep me more accountable. These are people that I love, that I know depend on me, look up to me, look towards me. And that's kind of, so you've got it from both things. You've got my expectations from God, that's up here, and I got my family down here with their expectations for me to lead them. And that keeps me right. Not perfect. I don't always live up. I definitely don't live up to the standards I need for God, or that God sets for me. But it helps keep me higher up there than it could be if I decided it didn't matter at all what I did, and I could just be a dirtbag just as long as I got mine. So, Alias. So sorry, sir, Stu. It's brutal. It is. It is. Particularly in this case, because the person was had a older brother that was 3 years older, who died completely out of the blue. Had an underlying heart condition, got a cold, and just died. It just basically from whatever it was, died of heart failure when they laid down. They weren't feeling well. Went to lay down a couple months before he was 30 years old. Mom found him. He was staying at home, taking care of his mom. Because he was providing for her and doing that kind of stuff. That was the kind of guy he was. And his brother at the funeral is the last one. The half, there was a stepson as well. He died earlier this summer of addiction, of an overdose. And so there were 4 of these kids, and the oldest one, who's about not quite a year older than me, he's a person I've got a tremendous amount of respect for. He was sitting up there and he was like, I'm the oldest, and I'm the only one left, and I don't know. He was lost at that point. That hurt probably the most. The guy who died before the 30, he was a family member I was very close to. That one hurt me the most. They all hurt, but I was very close to him. It was very unexpected. And that was not from an addiction or anything. He was the life of the party. he was a great guy. Several years younger than me, but we got along thick as thieves. So, Ailey says, MR, I'm constitutionally right. I'm socially wrong. I feel like that a lot. Emmanuel, you remind me of my neighbor when I was 13. The family near us, we're wholesome like you guys, and funny enough, they moved to the East Coast. The best leader for your be the best leader for your family, homie. That's the goal, man. That's the eyes on the prize there. That's my responsibility as a husband and father. Matthew felt a little behind from a call, but I agree with you 100% on the Southern traditional values. Hello. Yes, sir. There you go. All right. So, good. Got a lot of discussion in, because I think we're not going to have much to discuss, to read about, except for genealogy tonight. Because that's how it is. The Bible loves genealogy, but genealogy is important. And this is something I wish Nico was here for, but I'm sure he'll catch it on the replay. Because I know Nico has voiced this before, that he struggles, and we understand that, with seeing a lot of how the miracles work in. It's difficult to believe. And I think if you're not there to watch them, one of the best ways to start believing them is to see prophecy in action. And what this Bible does, what the Old Testament does, is start to point us towards the New Testament with prophecy, right? It's funny, this Old Testament does so much foreshadowing to Christ. It does so much foreshadowing to Christ, and the New Testament ends after Christ ascends into heaven. It ends with prophecy of what's to come, and people argue about how much of it has already happened. If it has all already happened, has any of it happened? I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. God's going to call me or call everybody in our time. It's nice. It's interesting from a theoretical standpoint. But what I've come to realize, at least where I am in the Bible, it's better for me to just, the time I spend in faith is less to worry about that and more to worry about how I need to be better. Because I'd rather be playing video games to some extent, not than worshiping. I'm not saying I'd rather play video games than worship. I'd rather play video games than worry over whether revelation has happened or not, or what in revelation has happened. But again, the prophecy, to me, I think that if you can see that there's prophecy in action and prophecy is coming true, then that makes some of the parting of the Red Sea, angels coming down and wiping out armies, bringing the dead back to life, stuff like that. It makes it a little bit easier to figure out, and easier to accept. Because again, this is what I say about the Israelites. They have such a blessing and understanding of, they are in a time where God is very directly present. He is speaking to people. He is doing overt miracles that are tangible, right? It's more than just something that's serendipitous. It's something where, God told the prophets that he was going to deliver the army. Oh, we woke up in the morning and the army was almost all dead. Okay, we get it. Or, hey, you told us that you told our ancestor that we were going to be enslaved for 400 years. Then 400 years later, you have a guy, and not only do we leave Egypt and we walk in between two sides of a sea that had been split in two. We saw the plagues. We saw that. We saw the manna from heaven. We saw the pillar in the sky. We saw so much of God in action in a very tangible way. The amount of faith required, you'd think, for us as folks who we feel like we have to search a little bit to find the presence of God. We have to ponder it. We have to reflect on it. We have to look to scripture. That's our struggle, right? And we see that and we're like, dang, if that happened in front of me, if that happened for me, dude, I wouldn't have none of that extra noise of doubt would ever creep into my head. I would be set, right? And they haven't. But so easily they toss it aside that it's frustrating. To me, I get angry with them. Because it's such a gift. Of course, we have the gift of living in the blessing of living post Christ's sacrifice and resurrection. We know the Messiah comes. We know who the real enemy is. The enemy that the Hebrews and the Israelites thought was the Romans, and the Romans certainly were a faction of it, but the real enemy was Satan. We have all this blessing. We have this blessing of being prolific. Christianity is such a huge faith. We impact the world. We have shaped human history from the point that Christ was sacrificed. From that point, Christ ascends into heaven, and then all of a sudden, Christianity spreads like a wildfire. The Great Commission goes and it hits out of here, and it's just all over the place. It really takes deep root in Europe, and from Europe, Western Christian values spread because it works. Because Christian values, when followed, even as loosely followed as they seem to be, because there was a lot of corruption. Let's not think people were making mistakes. They were making mistakes when Paul was sending angry letters to them in the New Testament. Look, Judas was a disciple, right? So there was corruption. But even if we play lip service to Christian values, it creates success because that's what God designed life to be. And it makes sense. Follow his commandments, obey his commandments. This isn't prosperity gospel. This is just putting this kind of stuff into action. Follow his commandments. Right? And there will be blessings for you. As a culture, Christian culture, when it was much more deeply invested in the foundation and the fundamentals of Christian culture, experienced a great deal of success. And where are we now where we feel like we're falling away? It's because we've fallen away from that as a culture. It is us not to be of this world. When the more culture decides to be of the world, the less we need to be involved in the less we need to be a part of the culture. So, that's where we stand there. So what we're going to see what we're going to see with this is Chronicles is going to rehash a lot of what we've already read in Kings. I don't care. I like it. We're going to be able to talk about this stuff again and hit back. One of the things I have not done, and I did this with other books, and I think I stopped around Joshua just because I forgot to. I used to stop and reflect on the previous book and say, hey, we just finished reading Exodus. Let's talk about what we learned in Exodus. I stopped doing that at some point, and I think that's important. But instead of doing that here, we're going to get into First Chronicles, where we're just going to be rehashing a lot of this stuff. But just to talk about Kings for a second, both books of Kings, we start off with David and Solomon, right? Two guys, they're not perfect by any means, but they are good kings. And then we see from Solomon, because of his mistakes, the nation split into two. And one immediately falls away and doesn't do a daggone thing to make itself look at all redeemable. It is irredeemable in every aspect that you can think of. Paying lip service, indeed. We were paying in Israel. They were paying lip service to God's commandments and worshiping and just keeping God at arm's length. Whereas Judah struggled to stay on the straight and narrow and had times where they fell off like the Israelites, but other times where they were trying to work. And in the end, Judah lasts longer than Israel because of that. But at the end, both nations are conquered and its people carried away, and only the poor are left to live in the ruins of a once great nation that existed under something that was a great covenant that man abandoned. What's the covenant? The covenant's the agreement, right, between God and Abraham, God and the Israelites. I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to give you these rules. And that's my end of the bargain. Your end of the bargain is just to follow it and follow me and do what I say. Just be obedient. I said this in Sunday school. I said, I think everything about the Bible boils down to two facets. All these sorts of things: sacrifice, love, grace, redemption. All this stuff falls into two categories: obedience and faith. Faith, that God exists and that he is the one, believing in what he stands for is right and good and that he's there. And two, obedience to follow what he's done and what he's commanded of us. And how you fall into those two is really, I think, is really where the key to understanding how we need to be Christians. Faith and obedience. Because, love for God, following the commandments, investing in following the commandments. You have the obedience in obeying the commandments, and the faith side of it is believing that they're right, not just doing it because you think you're going to be rewarded, but believing that they're there to be obeyed for a reason that you buy into. And it really is easy to buy into these. So Emmanuel said, it just goes to show you that humans take immeasurable power and take God's gifts and grace for granted as flawed beings. We do it every day. And as I said, it's easy to hammer at the Israelites for this, because I think that they are they are deserving of all criticism. But we forget how we fail as well, day in and day out. And dealings and interactions we have on a regular basis. In fact, oh crap, I'm not getting on social media. I'd pull up one of my favorite memes, but it's on there, and I'm giving up social media for that. And Mar said, "Great point. Faith comes way easier to them. We have to believe because they bungled the onside kick." No, that was just where they were on the timeline. We don't have, that's not a result of that. Where we are is not a result of where they are. Unless you were, well, I guess you could say, if Adam and Eve had been more responsible, we'd all be in Eden. Alice. Farewell to Kings. A farewell to Kings. And hello to Chronicles of the Kings. So hello. Goodbye, Kings. Hello, Kings. All right, let's get into this. Let's get into this. First Chronicles, chapter 1, historical records from Adam to Abraham. So we're going to follow everything, every piece from Adam to Abraham. So we're going to get back into Genesis a little bit. To Noah's sons. From Adam to Noah's sons. Adam begat Seth, begat Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel. Yeah, Mahalalel. There we go. Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah. So each one of them is a son of the person before that. The sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The Japhethites, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, the Kittites, and the Rodanites. All right, so those were the tribes that came from Japheth. The Hamites. All right, this is important. Ham. Let's go back. Let's take a brief. This stream's gonna end up being long. Let's go back to Genesis and talk about Ham a little bit, and maybe the sons of Noah. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. This is Genesis. This is Genesis 9:18. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the three sons of Noah, and from them came the people who were scattered over the whole earth, obviously, because the whole earth was destroyed. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and laid uncovered inside of his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked in backward and covered their father's naked body. Their faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father naked. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan! The lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers." He also said, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend Japheth's territory. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem. And may Canaan be the slave of Japheth." All right. So, interesting, this part about Ham finding his dad naked. I have had some people talk to me. There's a theory or an understanding that this saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside has something to do with Ham taking advantage of his drunk father, passed out father, in a sexual way, right? And then telling the brothers about it and them tending to their father afterwards, and then found out what his youngest son had done to him. So that because it's difficult because Noah wakes up, right? And he goes, "Oh," and he immediately just curses the entire line of Ham. Like just wakes up and says, "Boom." A dad doesn't just do this. We talk about this with other people. Like you don't just get up and do this to people you love. If Ham, if Noah didn't love Ham, Ham doesn't make it on the ark, right? If there was a deep problem with him, but Ham does something, and it is deep. So this is where, um, this is where it's pointing back to. So I think that's an important thing to remember when we're talking about this. So the Hamites, the tribes that come from Ham, the sons of Ham, Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. Cush. Is that Iran or Iraq? Hang on. Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a neighbor to Egypt to the south. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was further out towards into Asia. Anyway, not a great group. Egypt, obviously. The Egyptians. we have a whole part dedicated to them in the Bible in Genesis and Exodus. And Canaan, obviously not great. The Canaanites is specifically cursed by cursed by Noah, right? Not a not an unknown foot per, personality in the Bible. The sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, and Sebteka. The sons of Rama, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush was the father of Nimrod, who became a mighty warrior on earth. Egypt, yes, we talked about Nimrod a bit in the Pentateuch. Egypt was the father of the Luddites, Anamites, Lehabites, Naphtalites, Pathrusites, I hate this, Casluhites, from whom the Philistines came, and the Capharites. So a lot of bad guys coming out of this. Canaan was the father of Sidon, his firstborn, and of the Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, Archites, Sinites, Arvadites, Semarites, and Zemarites, and Hamathites. Canaan is not a nation in this context. Let's go back. Is it the Table of Nations? Hang on. Because he doesn't just curse Ham, he also curses Ham's son Canaan by name. I'm trying to find. Okay. That's right. That's right. Okay. All right. Let me find this. Sorry, guys. Sorry for the dead air here. Termites are also destructive aliens. Stop. Oh man. There's something I'm missing here. After his father Ham was humiliated, this is not scripture I'm reading. After the father Ham was humiliated, family probably separated from the others. Canaan would learn how to build a life apart from the ways of his grandfather, who had essentially condemned the family to dishonor. He would proudly look on, though, as his uncle Nimrod, son of Cush, would rise to power near the end of his life. He would find himself speaking a different language from his cousins as his people marched west and then south to settle in what seemed like legendary Eden to them. They would be blessed with the lands west of the Jordan River, the very lands that would be promised to Abraham many years later. Okay, so there isn't it. I thought there was more discussed about him in Genesis. It doesn't look like there was, but yeah, he definitely founds. He's definitely the founder of the Canaanites. Sorry, guys, went off on a tangent there. But yeah, termites also awful. But you see, the from the guy Canaan becomes the Canaanites, the Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites. They leave. They find this promised land, and what happens? The Semites. The Semites are the sons of Shem. All right. Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram, the sons of Aram. Uz, Hul, Gether, and Meshech. Arphaxad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah the father of Eber. Two sons were born to Eber. One was named Peleg because in his time, the earth was divided. His brother was named Joktan. Joktan was the father of Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Dikla. I hate reading these names. It's so difficult. Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan. Dude was getting busy. Shem, Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, and Abram. That is Abraham, right? Because Abraham's name originally was just Abram. So Abraham is a descendant of Shem through Joktan. And that's his tie into Noah. The sons of Abraham, Isaac and Ishmael. Descendants of Hagar. These were their descendants. So Hagar was Abraham's, was Sarah's servant, who she gave to Abraham to give him a son because she was barren, allegedly. Allegedly, she was barren because she ended up not being. The descendants of Hagar, these were their descendants. Nebaioth was the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedema. These were the sons of Ishmael. Look, Ishmael was hot-blooded and more than just argumentative, it seems. Look, guys had lots of kids back then, dude. Have lots of kids. You got to populate the earth. This is a very interesting part here. And this is another thing we don't realize. Descendants of Keturah, something not mentioned in the Pentateuch, but it comes up here in the Chronicles of the Kings. Abraham has a concubine, and she bears kids for him. The sons born to Keturah, Abraham's concubine, Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua, the sons of Jokshan, Sheba, and Dedan, the sons of Midian, Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. All these are descendants of Keturah. Or Keturah is probably the way you pronounce it. But I suck at pronouncing, guys. Just please bear with me. But here's the important thing. Descendants of Sarah. Because Sarah is the one wife of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac. From the recognized union, the only recognized union Abraham has, that is with Sarah, he has one son, Isaac. And again, you talk about what ends up becoming the big disconnect between Isaac, who would become the Israelites, or would be the ancestor of the Israelites, and Ishmael, whose descendants would become the Muslims. There is disagreement over things, and if I believe I understand the Muslim claim is that Ishmael was the actual firstborn, and Sarah pushed and Isaac, I think, pushed them out. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know if that's the thing, but this is just part of what I've heard discussed by people claiming to be Muslim, and maybe understanding, or maybe just not it. But I've heard that before. The problem with that is, when we look at it in an honest context, Ishmael's a bastard. In the definition of the word, not the calling him a name, but Ishmael's a bastard. And Ishmael ends up becoming blessed. Then angel comes and tells Hagar that Ishmael will be blessed, right? But the legitimate heir to Abraham, the legitimate heir, is only Isaac, and there's nobody behind him. There's not another son behind him or anything. It's Isaac. And the sons of Isaac, Esau and Israel. He was originally named Jacob. Esau and Israel. Esau's sons, the sons of Esau, Eliphaz, Reuel, Jaish, Jalem, Korah, the sons of Eliphaz, Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz, by Timnah, Amalek. The sons of Reuel, Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. The people of Seir in Edom, the sons of Seir. Where did Seir come from? Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishan, Ezer, and Dishan. The sons of Lotan, Hori, Homam. Timnah was Lotan's sister. The sons of Shobal, Alvan, Mahanahath, Ebal, Shepho, and Anam. The sons of Zibeon, Aya, and Anna. The son of Anna, Dishan. The sons of Dishan, Hemdan, Ishban, Ithran, and Kiran. The sons, because that's not difficult to screw up when you're trying to talk to them individually. The sons of Ezer, Bilhan, they call him Bill for short, Zavan and Akan, the sons of Dishan, Uz, and Aran. All right. So the Edomites come from Esau. Right. All right. Going back here a bit. Emmanuel says, reminds me of the family tree lineage that my family members in Central America can recall everyone up to about 3 generations past. Yeah. Is it just as hard to pronounce? Because then I won't feel alone. Luckily for me, my family came from Wales, but they did it back in the 1600s to Jamestown. A bunch of those Keturah kids are names of nations that will trouble Israel in the future and the Revelations. Yes. This is just, I know a lot of people go, look, polygamy, multiple wives, concubines. Dude, some of the greatest in the Bible did it. Abraham, Solomon, David, Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel. Not all of them came from one wife. What ends up becoming an interesting point to this is how much trouble comes from this, both in the immediate, when we look at the strife between that Ishmael and Hagar and Sarah have and cause each other. The 12 sons of Israel, of Jacob, 11 of them or 10 of them beat up on one of them and sell him into slavery, who ends up being like the chosen one. Right? We see David have lots of wives, and Solomon not being the only son, but there being a lot of strife. And from Solomon screwing up what he was doing, he ends up having a bad time of it with his son immediately goes into sin. And Nernath sums it up right here. My take, one woman is enough problems. Yes. One woman is the intent from Genesis, from jump, right? God doesn't tell Abraham to sleep with Hagar. Sarah tells Abraham to sleep with Hagar. And when he does, and she has a kid, and then Sarah's got a problem with it and gets all sullen, she blames him for it. He goes, hey, no, you told me to do it. Right? God didn't command Abraham to have a concubine. God didn't command David to have an affair with Bathsheba. God didn't command Solomon to have 1,000,000 women's. What we see is good men get involved with this, and it ends up becoming a destruction on their family. Right? And I think the best understanding of this, the way it's best illustrated, is briefly with Isaac and Ishmael, but much more with Jacob and his sons and how they treat Joseph. Because here's the honest thing behind it. All right. Jacob, who was a man who was kind of a shyster, he was a scoundrel in many ways in his dealings with his brother and in his dealings in life. But even though he was a scoundrel, his redeeming quality was he was obedient to God. Right? He's only got his eyes on one woman. Right? I think it's Rachel. Is it Rachel or Rebecca? I always get the two confused. Yeah, it's Rachel. From the get-go, Jacob meets Rachel. He wants Rachel's his love. Rachel's his original love. Yeah, Isaac was Rebecca. That's all I always get. I always get the two confused. Rachel is the one he loves. As a taste of his own medicine, Nahor has him marry Leah instead because Jacob's drunk at his wedding. He marries Leah instead. Doesn't realize it until the next morning. Marriage is consummated. And here comes. And that's not Jacob's. Some of it's Jacob's fault. That's where God says, don't get too much. You can imbibe in alcohol. Don't imbibe so much that you have no control over yourself or that people can take advantage of you. Happens to Lot, happens to Noah, possibly in a bad way to both of them. Lot's daughters get him pregnant or get him drunk, and they get pregnant with his kids. Noah possibly gets raped in some fashion, gets taken advantage of. And here, Jacob worked 7 years, 10 years to marry Rachel. Guy hasn't married his oldest daughter, not Rachel. So Jacob marries Rachel too, though. He works back and he comes by it honestly, gets by Rachel. Once they're done, Jacob starts having kids with Leah. She's conceiving. Rachel cannot conceive. So Rachel does the Abraham thing, does the Sarah thing, takes the Sarah maneuver. Okay, I can't give you children, but my maidservant can. So he starts having kids with her. Well, Leah goes, oh, well, I can one up you. You can have, now I'm going to give you my maidservant. And Jacob's like, hey, right? Finally, Rachel conceives. And from Rachel, from his love, right? Rachel conceives Joseph. Joseph's and wait, not Reuben. Dang on it. Hang on. It's not Reuben. Or Nath, I know you're going to tell me as soon as I figure it out. It's not Tito, Alias. Alias on a roll. Alias on a roll today. One time, Rachel said, give me children or I'll die. Here's Bilhah, my servant. Sleep with her that she can bear children for me. I too can build a family through her. That whole part, I'd love to get back this with the whole chat and go through this. This is such a great. Hang on. Reuben is the first. Here we go. First is Reuben with Leah. Second was Simeon. Third was Levi. And then the fourth. So Leah's fourth kid, she names Judah. Again, Judah, Leah. Judah comes from Leah. Leah is Jacob's first wife. Mistakes or nothing. First wife. Benjamin. Thank you, Alias. Ernie, I know you would have known this. Joseph and Benjamin come from Rachel, and Joseph is firstborn from Rachel, who then dies who dies early on, and because of that, like Joseph is his favorite, right? But from that, all sorts of problems. His own brothers together agree to sell him into slavery, but only because they didn't want to kill him. They were plotting to, some of them really wanted to do it. One of them had to come back and go, hey, let's not kill him. Let's just sell him into slavery and make some money off of it. Why kill him and get nothing? Sell him into slavery and make some money off it. So he sold them to his cousins into slavery, who are going to just, but they're slavers. So they're just, or merchants of slavery, whatever you want to call them. But that's the problem. That's the big problem from all of that. Nothing good happens when this is involved, except for, again, the immediacy of the beginning. Emmanuel up there. I don't condone polygamy, one, but I get it if you want to exercise options. But it's nothing serious. It's an easy way to see a good man burn the things he's built, or worse. Yes. Yes. It is. Because when you, because here's the thing, your kids end up growing up in a very confusing spot. The natural order, one man and one woman, right? Not one man and three women, not one woman and two men, not two men, not two women, and all the T stuff is wrong because all that stuff is dumb. Nico's here. Woo! Made it on the full moon. Woo! So we're doing genealogy, Nico. All right, so those were the Edomites. Those come from Esau. The rulers of Edom. These were the kings who reigned in Edom before any Israelite king reigned. Bela, son of Beor, whose city was Dimhabba. When Bela died, Jobab, son of Zerah from Basra, succeeded him as king. When Jobab died, Husham from the land of the Temanites succeeded him as king. When Husham died, Hadad, son of Bedad, who defeated Midian in the country of Moab, succeeded him as king. His city was named Avith. Kings already ended. We're in Chronicles now, Nico. When Hadad died, Samlah from Masikra succeeded him as king. When Samlah died, Shaul from Rehoboth on the river succeeded him as king. When Shaul died, Baal-Hanan, son of Akbor, succeeded him as king. When Baal-Hanan died, Hadad succeeded him as king. His city was named Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. Hadad also died. Nico, it ends a little abruptly. Basically, just Josiah dies, and then everything falls apart. The chiefs of Edom were Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Aholibama, Elah, Pinon, Kenaz, Timon, Nibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These were the chiefs of Edom. All right. Mezab, Usurhab. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's always funny to read that. Israel's sons. These were the sons of Israel. Of course, if I'd have just read this Alias, I wouldn't have had to wait for us to figure it out. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Joseph, Benjamin, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. How do I pronounce these so well? Well, number one, Dan, Joseph, Benjamin, those are all easy. But the other ones, one of my favorite play, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. It's a great thing. I had the soundtrack as a kid, loved the songs, and it teaches you the names. It's also another reason why the story of Joseph has a very close place in my heart. I love it. And there's much to be gleaned from that. To Hezron's sons, the sons of Judah, Onan, and Shelah. These three were born to him by a Canaanite woman, the daughter of Shua. Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the Lord's sight, so the Lord put him to death. I think he's the one who nutted on the floor. I can't remember. When he wasn't supposed to. I can't remember. Judah's daughter-in-law, Tamar, bore Perez and Zerah to Judah. He had 5 sons in all. The son of Perez. Oh, yeah, Judah. Yeah, Judah's daughter-in-law. He had kids with her because that was a whole thing. That was a whole side story in Genesis during the Joseph story arc. 5 sons in all. Sons of Perez, Hezron and Hamul, the sons of Zerah, Zimri, Ethan, Heman, Calcol, and Darda, 5 in all. The sons of Carmi, Akar, who brought trouble on Israel by violating the ban on taking devoted things. This was in Joshua. This is in Joshua. He was the guy who stole the things when God said, hey, don't steal the things. And he does. Don't take the things. Put them all, destroy them all. And he doesn't. And so he's put to death. The son, it's one of the few missteps that happens with Joshua's generation. Like that whole group of Joshua does pretty good. Maybe there never was a more obedient generation of people to God. The son of Ethan, Azariah. The sons born to Hezron were Jeremiel, Ram, and Caleb. Caleb is important to remember. Caleb and Joshua during the Exodus were the only 2 scouts who didn't try to dissuade Moses to go into the promised land, to go fight the Canaanites, to go take Jericho. Caleb, and Joshua, they were the ones saying, no, we need to go there. It's great. God can protect us. He will deliver us. He will deliver us. And God will deliver us, and we will take the promised land as he promised us, right? And those are because of that, those 2 were blessed. Caleb was blessed. Nika said, by the way, did we already get to the part in Chronicles where how the generational tree relates to Jesus? No, that's in Matthew at the very beginning of the New Testament, the very beginning of the Gospels. But it's important. This stuff's important too. Because this is showing, because Matthew will trace Jesus back to David. Where we're going here, we're tracing basically Abraham to David through Judah. Ram was the father of Aminadab, and Aminadab the father of Nahshon, the leader of the people of Judah. Nahshon was the father of Salmon or Salmon. I think we'll call him Salmon. Salmon was the father of Boaz. Boaz the father of Obed, and Obed the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of Eliab, his firstborn. The second son was Abinadab. The third was Shimeah. The fourth, Nathaniel. or no, Nethanel, the 5th Radai, the 6th Ozem, and the 7th David. Their sisters were Zeruiah and Abigail. Zeruiah's 3 sons were Abishai, Joab, and Asahel. Abigail was the mother of Amasa, whose father was Jether the Ishmaelite. Sorry, I always, for some reason, I thought David came from Caleb. My bad. But Caleb, still, good dude. Caleb, son of Hezron, had children by his wife Azubah and by Jereroth. These were her sons, Jesher, Shobab, and Ardan. When Azubah died, Caleb married Ephrath, who bore him Hur. Hur was the father of Uri, and Uri the father of Bezalel. Later, Hezron, when he was 60 years old, married the daughter of Machir, the father of Gilead. He made love to her, and she bore him Segub. This must have been very passionate, because we don't see that anywhere else. He made sweet loving to her, and she bore him Segub. Segub was the father of Jair, who controlled 23 towns in Gilead, but Gesher and Aram captured Havoth Jair, as well as Canaanath with its surrounding settlements, 60 towns. All these were descendants of Machir, the father of Gilead. I can't remember about Luke, but we definitely give it in Matthew, because Matthew starts off hard. Like, look, let's get past this. Let's get this. Go ahead and get this out of the way. Jesus traces back to David. David traces back to Abraham, to Jacob. Traces back to Abraham. After Hezron died and Caleb Eretha, the Abijah, the wife of Hezron, bore him Asher, the father of Tekoa. Jeremiel, son of Hezron, the sons of Jeremiel, the firstborn of Hezron, Ram, his firstborn, Buna, Oren, Ozem, and Ahijah. Jeremiel had another wife whose name was Atara, not Atari. Atara. She was the mother of Onam. There were sons of Ram, the firstborn of Jeremiel, Maz, Jamin, and Eker. The sons of Onam, Shammai, and Jada. The sons of Shammai, Nedab, and Abishur. Abishur's wife was named Abihail, who bore him Abin and Molid. The sons of Nadab, Seled, and Apim. Seled died without children. The son of Apim. Ishi, who was the father of Shishan. Shishan was the father of Ali. The sons of Jada, Shammai's brother, Jether, and Jonathan. Jether died without children. The sons of Jonathan, Peleth, and Zaza. These were the descendants of Jeremiel. Shisha had no sons, only daughters. At least he had some kids, but still. He had an Egyptian servant named Jarha. Shishan gave his daughter in marriage to his servant Jarha, and she bore him Attai. Attai was the father of Nathan. Nathan, the father of Zabad. Zabad, the father of Ephlal. Ephlal, the father of Obed. Obed, the father of Jehu. Jehu, the father of Azariah. Azariah, the father of Helez. Helez, the father of Eleasa. Eleasa, the father of Sismai. Sismai, the father of Shalom. Shalom, the father of Jechamiah. And Jechamiah, the father of Elishama. I'm going to bed after this. Sons of Caleb, brother of Jeremiel. Misha, the firstborn, who was the father of Ziph. And his son Marishah, who was the father of Hebron. The sons of Hebron, Korah, Tapua, Rikhim, and Shema. Shema was the father of Raham, and Raham the father of Jorkiam. Rechem damn near killed him. Or maybe Rechem was the father of damn near killed him. The son of Shammai was Maon, and Maon, let's start that. Rechem was the father of Shammai. The son of Shammai was Maon, and Maon was the father of Beth Zur, Caleb's concubine. No, Caleb, don't do it. Ephah was the mother of Haran, Moza, and Gazez. Haran was the father of Gazez. The sons of Jadai, Regem, Jotham, Geshan, Pelet, Ephah, and Shath. Caleb's concubine, Maacah, he had another one, was the mother of Sheber and Tirhana. She also gave birth to Shafe. the father of Madmana. Madmana. That sounds pretty cool. Madmana. And to Sheva, the father of Macbena and Gibeah. Caleb's daughter was Axa. These were the descendants of Caleb, the sons of Hur. Ben-Hur? Or just Hur? Just Hur, firstborn of Ephrathah. Jobal was the father of Kiriath, Jearim. Salma, the father of Bethlehem, and Haraph, the father of Beth Gader. The descendants of Shobal, the father of Kiriath Jearim, were Haroeth, half of the Heroah, half of the Manahathites. And the clans of Kiriath Jearim were the Ithrites, Puthites, Shumathites, and Mishraites. From these descended the Zorathites and the Eshtaelites, the descendants of Salma, Bethlehem, and the Netophanites, which we've talked about briefly. Atroth, Beth Joab, half of the Manahathites, the Zorites, and the clan of scribes who lived at Jabez, the Tirathites, Shemaathites, and Sukathites. These are the Kenites who came from Hamath, the father of the Rechabites. Whew. And thus ends the second chapter. Guys, you understand why I had all this conversation before going in here. Other fun names to pronounce from Alias. Other fun names to pronounce. Yabba Dabba Doo, Scooby Doo, Hong Kong Fuya, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and Dan. You should have seen me in. Were you here for Joshua? Were you here for Joshua? Might have been here for Joshua. Gosh. Yeah, I think y'all came in around that. Around numbers. The Rechabites are mentioned in Isaiah or Jeremiah, or maybe both. Whew. All right. That's it, guys. I'm out. I don't have any more for tonight. So there you go. We got genealogy. What are we moving into tomorrow? Sons of David, Kings of Judah. And then we go to the Kings. We're going to review the Kings, and blah, 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 and other clans. Very similar on Wednesday. If they got to stay in Jerusalem after Babylon took everyone else away. Nico, glad I caught it at last minute. You would like the first part, too. Right? The first part, we were catching up on some other stuff, but yes. Peace, peace, and peace. Unleavened. All right. So, like I said, the attempt of reading these names has turned my brain into putty. I am now a meme where the guy has cat litter in his brain. That's where I'm at. Bring tears to my eyes. So I'm going to continue my campaigning in Age of Empires. Right? My campaigning in Age of Empires. I started the Byzantine campaign last night. So good. So wholesome. The Byzantines, best civilization in Age of Empires 2. Period. So it was a good stream night, guys. It's not so easy being a streamer. Yeah. Stream, man. Yeah, it's fun. What I will say, it's mentally draining, I think. I think it's mentally draining. Yeah. Nernath has always been very encouraging and instructional in reading the end thing. Just burn through it. Just say one pronunciation with confidence. And I can't. I haven't been able to thus far. Sometimes I can. Sometimes I'm rolling with it. I can't do it consistently. That's where I like. So, again, follow what Alias says. What Alias says here. If you enjoyed the stream, If you're not already subbed, hit the like button. Hit the like button anyway. Hit the like button if you didn't like it. Hit the like button, right? Hit the like button. Subscribe if you want, please. If you want to support the show, do those things and help get the word out. Promote the show if you want to see it grow. I don't want donations. Don't. If you want to donate something, put it to a charity. Put it to a charity that's furthering the mission of God. Right? Tie it to your church. Do something with it. Don't give it to me. Right? That's not what this is about. But like, subscribe, and share. Best way to get is word of mouth. So, with that said, and also a reminder, April, I'll be at Road Rage in Philly. I know MR is gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. Nick's gonna be there. So that'll be great. And yeah, that's where we're at. So, Matt, Nath, Emmanuel, Alias, Nico. MR got quiet there for a second. Where's he at? There he is. MR. like how all this ties together, actually. Yes. MR. Who else? Haven't seen Carl in a while. Texan Italian. Porcupine. Dresden. Again, if I said hi to Dresden. Hi, Dresden, if you're still awake. Alex Moore, how's it going? But also good night. All these guys. All you guys who push this chat. All the guys who add your comments. All the guys who make suggestions on Friday nights. Guys, it's awesome. Like I said, y'all are part of the success. Y'all are part of the fun. Y'all are part of what the charm of this channel. However charming it is. Right. And if it's not at all, then hey, at least we're all together in it. Anyway, with that said, guys, I'm going to sign off now, but I want all of you guys to have a very pleasant rest of your evening. And hopefully, I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, have a good night and God bless.